Hello, clan fans. Alright, so episode 9 of season 5 of Outlander premiered today, and the title is Monsters and Heroes. Why, you might ask? It does come into play more in the dialogue than actually what you see, but it is interesting because in this episode we see Jamie go through a near-death experience, and it is something that we haven't really seen him go through since Culloden, since that was like his closest near-death experience. So, without further ado, let us talk about episode 9. Alright, so Marsley, who is still somehow pregnant. I don't know how the timeline works this season, but if Alamance was in spring, which I looked up, and it's autumn, I don't know. Time works differently on this show, as we know. But yeah, she's still pregnant, but she is about due. Claire is giving her just a quick little checkup before the baby is about to be born, which she says any minute. And Marsley is actually hoping that Claire will be there for her, not just as her physician, but as her ma. Aww. Like, watching season 3, who would have ever thought we'd see that moment? So that was nice. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite happen that way. And I am sorry if there is noise in the background. I have 2 of my fur babies in the back here, which I don't, you can't really, there they are. There they are. But yes, so, back to the show. What happens is Jamie and Roger go on a hunting trip with Ian, Fergus, and a few of the other men of the Ridge, while the ladies at home are having a dying day. I don't know if this was meant to be a unfortunate pun, possibly, because Lizzie at one point says, "It's a good day for dying." What would implore you to say that? I don't know. Anyway, so while they're hunting, Roger and Jamie go off on their own while the other men go back around the other part of the woods because they are out to try to catch buffalo, which I somehow didn't realize there were plains for the buffalo in that area, but I don't know geography, so I will always be surprised with these things. So while they're trying to shoot at the buffalo, Jamie misses. Roger goes to try to get a shot in. Unfortunately, while Jamie is reloading his gun, a snake bites him on the leg in a weird spot you wouldn't expect him to get, especially at the angle he was at. However they do it, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, Jamie gets bitten by the venomous snake, and he manages to chop his head off before sitting down with his unfortunate wound. Roger tries to help him by, like, letting the wound bleed a little bit so he can suck the venom out. And unfortunately, this doesn't really work, though it was an honorable attempt on Roger's part, really. So Roger tries to go and get help, but before he does, he actually picks up the snake's head. This will become important later, and if you guys have read the books, you know why. And you knew why. So, unfortunately, Roger is not able to find help, and because his voice hasn't fully come back yet, he can't really scream, he can't raise his voice, so that becomes a problem. So, unfortunately, he has to call it quits, and he goes back to Jamie, who has fired up the fire and roasted the snake. And as he says, fair is fair. Just think, the last time we heard him say that was back in season 1 during the honeymoon, which I'm not going to get into details there. So, yeah, while they have to camp out there, Jamie is not doing too well. He's really succumbing to the venom. And Roger's trying to make the best of it, but Jamie tells Roger that if he doesn't make it, he wants him to go to Wiley's Landing, which is where they were going to have the meeting with Bonnet, and he wants him to kill Bonnet. And it's made clear that Roger and Bree knew about Bonnet. So Roger is hesitant because he doesn't really want to kill a man, like, just standing right in front of him. Of course, as we know, Bonnet doesn't just stand right in front of people. He attacks. So if anything, he would at least be killing him out of self-defense. But Roger hasn't... I mean, I don't know. He'll learn. So, yeah, Jamie's basically feeling like he's not going to make it. And in the morning, Roger's trying to carry Jamie through the woods, trying to look for help, or at least trying to get into the ridge. And while he's doing that, Jamie is basically, like, giving his last wishes, like saying, tell Bree that he's glad of her, tell Claire to go back, and don't just tell her to go back, make her go back, because he feels like she's not going to do so well without him in the 18th century. And it's just like all this stuff that he's entrusting his son-in-law to do. And this is a really big moment for Jamie and Roger too, because they really haven't had this father and son bond moment. An unfortunate way for this to happen, but it was going to happen sooner or later. Which, it's interesting that, I don't know if this ever happens in the books. Like, I think he does. I think I heard that he told Governor Tryon off about what happened to Roger, but does he ever truly apologize to Roger about what happened? I don't know if... I feel like that would have been a nice thing to have, because he didn't really ever do that in this episode. Or the last one. Like, I know he feels guilt. You can tell he does. But he never truly says he's sorry, but I guess they just didn't do that back then. Maybe it's historically accurate. Don't ask me. But yeah, that would have been a nice moment to have, but regardless, it's nice that he's also entrusting Roger in all of this. Like, actually showing him that he believes in him for once. Like, he knows he'll get the job done in his place. Maybe it's out of desperation, but still. Anyway, thankfully, young Ian notices that men have not returned, and he, Fergus, and one of the men from the ridge, they go out to look for Jamie and Roger. Thankfully, Roger, despite the fact that he cannot yell, he figures out a way to make noise, and they are able to find them. And they bring Jamie to Claire, who, unfortunately, she actually hasn't dealt with snake bites. She unfortunately only had the experience of viewing an autopsy from a snake bite. That's not very comforting. So she does the best she can. What she figures out is that she can use maggots to try to help the wound, like to bite off the dead skin and the decay. And while the residents of Fraser's Ridge are looking for that, she's trying to figure out another way to get penicillin into him, because the syringe, unfortunately, was lost when Mr. Brown got mad. Yeah, I don't know when we'll see them again, but I don't look forward to it. So yeah, she doesn't have the syringe. She can only come up with a penicillin broth of sorts, so she gives that to Jamie. Unfortunately, that's not a good way to get it into his bloodstream, so there's no way for his body to get the help from the penicillin within the blood. So it's up to his body to fight off the infection. So yeah, it's a very scary situation, because Claire, who's very knowledgeable about these things, and she knows what she can do, this is a moment where she can't act upon it. So that's really terrifying. The only thing she can think to do if the time comes is to amputate his leg, which Jamie does not want her to do. And at one point he even tries to take the saw away from her, which this is just how I viewed it at first. When he first looked at the saw, because I didn't know what his intentions were, I was thinking, no, you're not thinking to cut your leg off, are you, Jamie? Because that's just where my mind went. I don't know why. It's more so that he doesn't want Claire to do it to him. So it's basically either I survive this with my leg or I die with my leg. There's no other option. So Jamie is very strongly feeling like he just does not want to be saved that way. So, unfortunately, at some point during this time, a buffalo wanders into Fraser's Ridge, specifically on the Fraser property, and Lizzie and Jemmy are out there, and they're in danger. Bree actually tries to distract the buffalo, and thankfully she's able to steer it away from her son and Lizzie, but in the process it kind of knocks her over. Thankfully Claire is quick, grabs a gun, shoots it dead. I don't know if this is the one that Jamie tried to kill. It's possible. Which, would buffalo have actually come onto properties like that back then? This is a legitimate question, I'm just curious. Anyway, and I know people like to point out that whenever animals like this are used and there's CGI with the action, it looks bad, but you know guys, this is my opinion. It's just that this show isn't a CGI show, so it's not always gonna look normal when they do use CGI. That's probably why, because honestly, even like the greatest CGI, in my opinion, doesn't always look very realistic. Occasionally, but it depends on the situation, the setting, all of that. So I'm just throwing that in there. Anyway, I don't really know why that moment happened. I think it happened in the book too, but maybe just to show don't mess with the buffalo, because you see what happens in the 1800s to them, which was very unfortunate. Anyway, back to Jamie's situation. So Jamie does not want to die in Claire's medical office. He wants to go back to their room, and Roger and Ian help him, and upon learning that Jamie does not want to have his leg amputated, Ian gets very frustrated with Jamie because he has seen how his father has lived without his leg, he's seen how Fergus has lived without his hand, and he thinks Jamie is a coward for choosing death rather than living, or like finding a way to live with that. And Jamie is understandably afraid of losing his leg, more so because it feels like a dishonorable way to lose the leg, like fighting in a war versus getting bitten by a snake. But it's more so like, do you want to live or do you want to die? Doesn't matter how it happened. And yes, that situation is always a tough one to go through, but young Ian does point out that if his father and Fergus could do it, why can't Jamie? So Ian tells him that he feels ashamed of him and storms out. And eventually this does prompt Jamie to actually okay the amputation, because he did make Claire promise not to do it, but Claire was probably going to do it anyway, which would have made her feel horribly guilty about it. But once he gives the okay, then she knows, at least you won't be mad at me for doing it. But before that happens, Claire and Jamie share the night together, and Jamie almost actually dies, which I think that does happen in the book. But thankfully, Claire is able to revive him. I won't say how, I try not to get into those details in my videos, but she gets close to him and she holds him, and thankfully she revives him. And that's when he decides, I need to stay here with you. And he later tells her that when he passed out in that moment, he had a choice to make because he was seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So either go towards the light or stay with Claire. And it wasn't just because he loves her, but it's because he knows that she needs him. And, you know, it's not a bad thing to need somebody, because sometimes that's what makes you strong. When you have that person that you need and then they need you back. It's a beautiful bond that Jamie and Claire have always had. So I love that we actually get to focus on their bond a little more in this episode. And it's just beautiful. And I feel like in the book there was a moment where this happens, where he passes out, and this is supposed to tie into the ghost scene from episode 1 of season 1, where you see a Highlander looking up at Claire at the window. But that did not come into play in this episode. I'm not positive if that happens in the book. I thought that's what I read, but that would have been an interesting tie-in. I think it's more of a theory more than anything. And the fact that the show writers didn't put that in, I don't know if that means that they have plans to bring that scene... Sorry, she's making noise. I don't know if they have plans to bring that scene into a later season, possibly. Maybe once they tie everything up at the end of the show. I don't want to think about the end of the show, though, guys. I'm gonna cry for days once that happens. I know it's coming, but we're not gonna think about that for now. Anyway, I loved that there was this beautiful moment with them. Like, you see how strong their bond still is after all these years. Even after they've settled in and started a life finally together, their bond is still there, and it's beautiful. And I love that Bree actually brings her engineering into this episode. So earlier she's talking to Claire about how she and Roger don't feel like they have a purpose with their skills. And amazingly, Bree eventually figures out how to bring her skills into the 18th century by creating a syringe for Claire, using the snake tooth from the snake head that Roger grabbed. Hold on 1 second, they are being crazy back here. Look at this. Okay, Autumn. Okay, I see you there. I have my own version of Drums of Autumn here. Anyway. So yes, she comes up with a syringe that helps Claire figure out how to get the penicillin into Jamie's system. So that is what saves him from getting his leg amputated. So yes, thankfully that worked out. Book readers can be happy because, yes, they brought the snake tooth syringe into this. Alright, Autumn, hi. Hi. I know there's a kitty here. Hi, say hi. I know I don't usually feature my animals, but here's one of them. Say hi, Autumn. You are on YouTube. Hello. But yes. So I loved that Bree actually had a great idea in this moment, and she was able to help save Jamie, and I feel like that brought them closer as a family too. So yes, it's nice. And of course Roger, even though he's been released from his, I don't want to call it the burden, but basically Jamie says you don't have to go and kill Bonnet now that I'm still alive, but Roger has decided that he does want to face Bonnet with Jamie. So we will see them deal with that together, possibly in the next episode, or maybe in the last 1 or 2 episodes. Which, guys, we only have 3 episodes left. Can you believe that? I mean, jeez. Yeah, 3. I had to think for a second. But yeah. That is amazing that we have gone through 9 episodes. I feel like so much has happened this season, and I know people think it's boring, but I am enjoying it, honestly, and this season has brought more tears to my eyes than I thought any season ever could. And it's funny because this is the season that I knew little about. So maybe I shouldn't spoil things for myself. Maybe that's a lesson here. Yeah, I think this episode was great. And, oh, one more thing. Yes, Marsley did eventually give birth to her baby, unfortunately, because she had to do it in the woods while she was out with Fergus and the children. And Claire was busy dealing with Jamie. She had the child, but thankfully they have a moment at the end of the episode where they introduce their new bairn to Claire and Brianna, and the name is Felicity. Oh, she's so cute. All the kids on the show are cute, guys. I haven't really pointed that out enough. They're adorable. Yes, Jemmy is adorable too. And I know people like to say that he looks more like Bonnet. And, you know, maybe that's just a way to throw us off. Might be a stretch here, but maybe it's just traits that were passed down from his parents, like I pointed out. But, yeah, we'll see. Anyway, great episode, and honestly, the show is going in so many amazing directions. This episode just was a great moment on the ridge, so I'm happy that we got that. Alright. And something else I want to point out before I end my video. I know there has been a lot of issues that Sam, Hewan, and the other cast members have been dealing with. A lot with cyberbullying, and guys, it's not cool. I don't know. I'm sure it's not a lot of people, but just even that small number can cause serious emotional damage, and it's not fair to the actors. They work really hard. So I just want to put that out there. No bullying of any kind, please. Alright. Please. I know things have been crazy right now, guys. And life just feels like it's going nowhere sometimes. But I do hope all of you are doing okay out there. And to the people who are saying these bad things to the actors, just know that we're all struggling right now. We're all dealing with a crazy mess that none of us ever thought we'd have to deal with in any of our lifetimes. So it's not a good time, and it's never a good time, but especially now when we all need to be strong and work together to get through this, this is what we need to do. We need to be kind and understanding and patient through all of this, because that is the only way we're going to get through it. So, yes, please know that I care about all of you guys. I care about people that I don't even know, because we all are here on this earth together doing what we need to do, and right now what we need to do is be strong and just have patience with what's going on. So yeah, please, I hope you all know that I care about you guys very much. I hope you're all doing okay through all of this. I hope all of the actors, all the crew, just everyone is doing okay. And yeah, just hang in there, guys. We're gonna get through this. Alright, so that's what I wanted to say, and I hope all of you guys are doing good. And we have more in store for Outlander. Like I said, 3 more episodes, and we'll see what happens. Alright guys, I'll see you for episode 10. Have a good week. Bye.